Welcome back, collectors. Today we're going to be talking about how some things look better in black. Clothes, cars, Dave Chappelle, and of course, Spider-Man. So today we have the Marvel Legends retro card Symbiote Spider-Man. Looking at the box, this figure comes in that old Toy Biz form. It's a different packaging. I kind of like it. You can see on the back there's every figure in the wave. Synopsis of the figure. He looks cool in the box. You can notice he doesn't come with many accessories except the base hands. You got the crawling hands and the thwip hands, but no webs, nothing like that. I got this guy on Amazon. I definitely overpaid, but that's because his price kind of went up since the initial release. So let's get this guy open. So just out of the box, initial looks, this guy looks great. You know, this is the Spider-Man that your girlfriend tells you not to worry about, because this guy kicks ass. So you can see in the lighting that we have here, it kind of gives him a textured look, more of a slimy effect, as if it is an alien symbiote wrapping around his body. He does look more matted, like more matte black in some areas, like we have in the shoulders right here, there's not much of a shine. And the thighs, there's a great shine, but in the top of them, there's not a great shine. Head looks more matte than the rest of it. But this core area right here, you definitely get some good shine and looks really good in certain lights. You can see the arms are more of kind of a matte finish right here. Back he looks kind of shiny all over. He has a little wrinkle in his cheeks right here, maybe indicating this is supposed to be the cloth version costume of the black symbiote suit, because it doesn't have the dots right here that other symbiotes have, but that's really inconsistent in the comics. So I mean, you could play this as either the symbiote character or the cloth costume. But Sleepy, this guy needs to have a dot in his arm, otherwise he's not Venom and it's just a cloth costume, because he doesn't have the dot in his arm. He needs the dot in his arm. Shut up. It's drawn inconsistent as hell in the comics, and if the people who draw the thing are gonna put it without the dot and still call it the symbiote suit, then so will I. You damn nerd. But this guy just looks ready to beat the bricks off of whoever opens him. You can see a lot of muscle tone in the legs here. He's definitely a more muscular version of Spider-Man, but usually that is an issue to me when they're too big. I do like my Spider-Mans a little slimmer, a little smaller, more comic accurate, but for more of a 90s type of animated series look, this guy kills it. You know, because the 90s animated Spider-Man is pretty, he's a big dude, and this thing, it encapsulates that perfectly. He is also kind of slimmed down because black is a slim... It's a slimming color. So in person, he doesn't look as crazy huge or anything. I notice he actually looks a lot slimmer out of the box and just moving him around than anything else. But this guy, it's so fun to mess around with. He has some great articulation. You can get him into some really cool poses. So I was noticing messing around with him that I actually got a little imperfection here. We noticed in the head, if we can focus, there's actually a little dent here. I don't know if that was a result of being pulled out of the package wrong. I didn't see that initially when I got the figure and it came in, but I mean, you can't really tell too much. The figure is all black. That is an advantage of it. You won't really see much imperfections or dents, and it being a simplistic color kind of covers up a lot of its imperfections. For example, the pins on the joints here, it is still a pin joint figure, but I mean, you can't really tell because the figure is all black. At a distance, you can't even see them. So, I mean, it doesn't really do anything for the aesthetic of the character, but that is just something I noticed that kind of sucks. But, I mean, you get what you get. As far as articulation, this is kind of some of the best I've seen from any Marvel Legend. We know they're not exactly amazing in articulation when compared to Yamagata or Mafex, but they're definitely making great steps. So, at the ball, we do have a ball joint up here. It is on the new gap. It has the little gap here because it is on that bent kind of dumbbell. It is only one, so you get kind of minimalized neck movement. You can move it kind of far up. You can get a decent down look, but you're not going to get much head tilt to the side like you could with the Mafex. That almost went a full 90 degrees. He does have butterfly joints, which allow his arms to go pretty far back, and then a decent bit forward. I'd say they go way further back than they do forward. Yeah, look at that compared to this. Moving down to the abdomen, he does have this new body that I do like. I didn't like the other figures where they were just on an ab crunch here and then a waist swivel here. He does have a dumbbell joint here, which allows this much ab crunch forward, and then he can get a decent far back without the other waist joint here. But he also has a lower waist joint here, which allows him to go this far forward. See, decent ab crunch there. And then he can go very far back, almost a full 90 degrees. He can break his back. Going down to the legs, he does have drop down hips, like they're not as aggressive as Mayfex's, but if you notice, this is how far he can kick up without them. And then you drop him down, you can go up a little higher. He does have his bicep swivel, as we said earlier, pinned double jointed joints in the wrists, and then a wrist on a little peg here. You can go in and out. It's not a ball peg, it's just a little insert. Other arm's the same way. As we talked about before, he doesn't have the little dot here, and it is a perfect square. I noticed on the Symbiote costume it's also a little more slanted inwards, but I mean, you can still peg this as your Symbiote Spider-Man. It doesn't have to be the cloth suit. The legs here, he does have the standard quad swivel, double jointed knees with pins, and he does have a shin swivel, which I know some people don't like because you put him in a pose and it kind of messes up the alignment of the figure. I don't mind it too much. I don't use it usually when I pose the figures, just because it does throw me off, but I mean, if you don't like it, just don't use it, and it doesn't really appear in pictures. Like, from here you can't tell he even has it. Foot is just on a little peg here. He does have the same problem that I have with most Legends figures, with their feet being too big for my taste, just a little bit, but I mean, it being a slimming black color, it isn't really as noticeable on this figure as it is in other ones, but I definitely would like him to start doing a little bit smaller feet, just kind of throws off some poses for me. But other than that, that's this guy's articulation, and it's some of the best you're going to get from Marvel Legends. They're getting better and better with the Spider-Mans that they release. I know the Amazing Fantasy one, that body has great articulation, but by no means is this one bad by any shot. This guy can move. In terms of accessories, this guy is as lonely as you, because he doesn't come with much. I mean, he's got his manual, he's got that going for him. But other than that, he really only comes with his 2 extra sets of hands. You got your thwip hands, you could get your wall crawling hands, which are kind of standard in my opinion for any Spider-Man figure. This is what should come as a base, So we don't get any web accessories, but a good thing is, if you do have any of the Mayfex webbing, they are compatible with with most of these Spider-Man Marvel Legend figures. So you can just kind of pop it on here like that, like you would any other Mayfex figure, and then just put it in right here. And it fits just fine, and you can get some pretty cool poses with that, like he does in the comics. You can have it coming out of the wrist, or do the normal thwip hands, like he would in the cloth costume. But either way, you can still get some really cool shots with this, using the Mayfex webbing. So if you have the Mayfex ones, you're more than welcome to use them. They fit just fine, they work just fine, they look great in pictures. But it does kind of suck that this guy didn't come with any extra webbing or anything to complement the figure. Damn. So for some size comparisons here, we have him next to the Marvel Legends Ben Reilly Spider-Man. You can see he's about the same height. If anything, this guy's giant feet make him a little bit taller. This is just an example of how far Marvel Legends has come with their Spider-Man. You can see this guy is well more, his proportions are way better, making them as buff as they made him kind of evened him out, where this guy lacked in some areas. So this guy just seems super lanky with giant feet, giant hands, and this god-ugly waist piece. But they now got rid of that, and they have this ab crunch here. You don't have that awkward kind of... Look at that. Jeez, it is just miles ahead of this thing. So this guy is definitely an improvement from Spider-Man figures of the past. But he is on the taller side. This is a taller figure, Spider-Man, when compared to other figures. So he is going to scale a little bit higher with other Legends. Here he is with the Marvel Legends Civil War Captain America and Mark 43 Iron Man. You can see he is definitely on the taller side. I think he's a little bit taller than Cap, actually. But he is still shorter than Iron Man, which is still good. Iron Man is usually taller than most figures. But I do think he is a little tall, because when you compare him to a guy like Captain America, dude, he just looks like he could beat the bricks off a Cap. That may be just because of his design, but I do think they made him a little bit tall. But again, if they were going for more of that 90s animated series kind of look, I think they did a great job, because that Spider-Man is a little bigger, it's a Spider-Man. But so I do think if they are going for that, they did great. but he is going to scale a little tall, in my opinion, with normal-sized Legends like Captain America here. Here he is with the Marvel Legends comic Thor and Marvel Legends comic Doctor Strange. I think he scales great with these guys. This is a bigger Thor. This is a pretty good Thor in my opinion. He's not a movie Thor. Movie Thor would be a lot shorter, but for comics Thor, I think he scales great with this Spider-Man. Same with this Doctor Strange here. He's not too tall. They're about the same height. So he definitely scales fine with Legends figures. Here he is with a couple of his villains. I think he looks great compared to these. He is a little bit shorter than Taskmaster you see, which I do like, and about the same size as Batroc here. So he scales just fine with these. And here he is with some bigger and smaller figures. This is the Marvel Legends White Tiger, which he is significantly taller than. And then Hulk here, obviously he's shorter than, but I mean they have about the same muscle tone. This guy, it just looks like a scaled down version that they just took this guy and used the scaled down version to make him, because look, their arms are still huge. I mean Hulk's obviously bigger, but this guy is by no means a small figure. I love the sculpture of this guy. Look at that, those freaking triceps, jeez. Things are huge. For the last size comparison, we have him next to the Mafex 185 Classic Costume Spider-Man. You can see he is a bit taller. That's why I think this guy scales generally more with other figures in terms of being Spider-Man, because Spider-Man to me is a smaller dude. But this guy is no means a bad scale with him. He's going to go along just fine. I just think, in my personal opinion, this guy scales a little bit better. But them next to each other, you can definitely see the difference in height. So maybe he wouldn't scale the best with Mafex Spider-Man figures, but I don't have too many Mafexes to compare him with. But Marvel Legends he's just fine with. Most big figure he's going to be just fine with across any line, especially Marvel Select. So final thoughts on this guy. I do think he is worth a buy, especially if you're looking for an alternative to the Mafex Symbiote Spider-Man, which is close to 2 to 3 times this guy's price. You are getting kind of import quality with this guy. I'm really impressed with the sculpt of him. He does look a lot better in person. You're gonna like it. If you like him on camera, you're gonna love him in person. But you can get him into so many crazy poses that you couldn't do with other Spider-Mans in the past. He's incredibly well articulated and he looks great on camera. So I do think he's worth a buy. I wouldn't pay more than 40 for him. That's where I would draw the line. But so if you can get him for anything less, then by all means go for it. But anything more than that, I would just spend the money on the Mafex Symbiote Spider-Man. But this guy is definitely a buy. Dude, look at the triceps on this guy. That is insane. You can make him check his watch. Either way, it's time to take your chick, 'cause that's all this guy's doing.